Shocking reveal. UK watchdog smashes budget lies. Rachel Reeves exposed by Office for Budget Responsibility. Just days before delivering the budget speech, Reeves painted a bleak picture of Britain's public finances. Skyrocketing taxes, dire warnings of a fiscal black hole. But today, the OBR has blown the lid off that narrative. Its senior official confirmed the forecasts were never as catastrophic as briefings suggested, and said they had to set the record straight in public to counter a wave of misleading headlines. Investors rattled, politicians scrambling, and now the budget storm hits the heart of government credibility. Watch the clip. Before starting, subscribe to the channel, like and write your opinion in the comment.
Start, if I may, with the letter that you wrote to this committee, which was mentioned in the forecast documents last Wednesday, and which we received on Friday. So how unusual was this budget process this time around, including the information that came into the public domain, and when, Professor Miles?
I think we felt that there was a need in that letter to set the record straight on the process by which the forecasts were created at the OBR. I mean, in particular, to remove some misconceptions about them that we saw circulating in the media. We know that this committee has a strong, legitimate interest in our processes and how they're done. And so you deserve to know things. And we were planning to wait until immediately after the budget to release the letter that came to you. The reason it came late was that, as we all now know, there was an unfortunate incident, early access by some parties to our document, and so we were spending most of the immediate aftermath of the budget dealing with that, trying to set up the panel to investigate it, and therefore the letter didn't come to you until slightly later than that. I think it might have appeared to some reading the media that the OBR came under certain pressure and may have acceded to that pressure on several things. For example, moving the window that we use to assess market expectations of interest rates in a direction which might have been helpful to the government. There was some speculation over that. I think there was some speculation that we had somehow helpfully come up with some extra money, some funds fallen down the back of the sofa, so to speak, at the last minute. I think there was also a view that the OBR's forecasts were wildly fluctuating in the process, both leading up to the pre-measures forecast and perhaps after it as well, and that had made the budget process more chaotic than it otherwise would have been. And so we were keen to set the record straight on some of those things. Some of it is very straightforward. For example, the window that we chose to use to set market expectations of interest rates, which has quite a significant impact on the assessment of where debt interest costs are going into the future, had been decided on, I believe, back in July. So there was no sense in which that was shifted at the last minute to try to find a window that might be particularly helpful. I think it was also important to set out that in the lead up to the final pre-measures forecast, which went to the Chancellor right at the end of October, there hadn't been wild fluctuations in our assessment of the outlook. They had gradually got a little bit more favourable in the sense that the margin, or the headroom as people call it, looked like it dipped from slightly negative to ever so slightly positive. But there were no wild fluctuations in those things.
We've seen that obviously in the letter on the table, which I should say, of course, that information is in the EFO every year anyway, most of it. What was new in the letter that you sent us, just so people are clear?
Yes, what was new in the letter, it's a matter of record in the EFO, as you're well aware, Chair, that we show what the pre-measures estimate of the so-called headroom is.
What I'm saying is some of this information was not new, it's just put together in the letter.
Quite so. What was new was just to show the preliminary forecasts that led up to that number.
1 and 2.
Correct. Which had improved by relatively small amounts as we went through the rather long iterative process of producing the forecast in the lead up to that October 31st number, that there were no wild fluctuations there. In fact, they were by the standard.
Really, it was 1 and 2 that was the new bits, right? Okay, can I just, I've also got some quick fire questions,
Sure.
if I may. So, did you or anyone on the Budget Responsibility Committee complain to the Treasury about any leaks of information?
I don't think there was any formal complaint. We were obviously aware that information seemed to be getting into the press. It wasn't.
There was no formal request, but did you talk to the Permanent Secretary, anyone in the Chancellor's office about this?
I think that it was clear that there was lots of information.
I mean you, the OBR.
Yeah, that there was lots of information appearing in the press, which perhaps wouldn't normally be out there, and that this wasn't, from our point of view, particularly helpful.
Yes, well, that's a fact. A fact. You say that. But did anyone from the OBR raise it?
I think it was clear that we didn't find this helpful. We made that clear.
Okay,